Good evening, we are on the approach now to London Euston.
Okay, so I've just travelled to London for the Google Next 19 conference. The conference is actually tomorrow, but I've travelled down a day early so I can get some sleep and then go to the conference bright and early tomorrow. If you don't know what Google Next 19 is about, it's basically Google's cloud infrastructure conference where they basically show off what they can do, all the new features of Google Cloud, and they try and get you to use all of the new products, obviously because it makes them money. The more you use their products, the more you have to pay them. But overall, it's actually a really good learning experience to understand what they're developing, how you can use them, and they actually give you some really good training and really good insights on the day. I'm also going to try my best to get some really good shots of the event tomorrow so I can show you guys what it was like, and also I'll do a full rundown of exactly what I learned, what Google is launching, all the new stuff, all the exciting stuff, and mix it in with all of these shots. So hopefully this will be a really interesting video, but for now I'm going to go get some sleep so I can get up bright and early tomorrow morning. It's 8:30 in the morning now, so I'm going to get up and head over to the conference. So obviously I'm back home now in the new studio. If you haven't seen me creating this studio, then go follow me on TikTok and Instagram and you'll see little videos of me creating this studio for me to film videos in so I don't have to film in the kitchen anymore. So I'm going to run through some key highlights that I found were quite interesting from Google Next 19, and I'll throw in some footage from the day too so you can see what the event was like. So as expected, it was very much a Google styled event. It looked like Google had gone through the IKEA catalogue and bought everything that was blue, red, green and yellow, but it was really well put together. It was really interesting walking around. There was never a dull moment. So to start things off, I'll do a quick roundup of all the weird and wonderful things they had there, and then we can get into the good stuff. They had candy tubes which dispensed actual jelly beans, and this was used to highlight some of Google Cloud's USPs. They had a full life-size version of chess, which was surprisingly popular, vibrant display stands to draw you in, a pool of ducks, obviously, a full arcade complete with retro-styled SSH terminals to allow you to practice your server commands. They also had a complete dev zone game, which was essentially a step-by-step tutorial of some of Google Cloud's services. There was also a Lego wall with a Lego artist and a feedback board which you could write on. I think these are things that every company should have. Oh, and lastly, there was a cow, because why not? So, onto the serious stuff. Google opened up their event with their Mainstage Keynote from Alan Code, the Managing Director of Google Cloud. Alan opened up the keynote by stating the purpose of the event, which was to bring all of Google Cloud's customers together so that Google could show off its new innovations and new technologies, so that we as developers can take that technology and build a better future. He also emphasized the digital transformation in companies and wants to push harder to move companies away from using standalone servers to migrating everything towards the cloud, which essentially is what is happening now. As the keynote moved on, Alan invited various members of the Google Cloud team from across the world to come on stage and talk about the new innovations and capabilities in Google Cloud. Firstly, they mentioned their new N2 and N2D processors from AMD and Intel, which are basically purpose-built processors for virtual machines. So unlike the processor that's in your laptop, which is dedicated just to your laptop, these processors are designed to work across multiple virtual machines, sharing their processing power amongst the different machines and workloads. So they are super powerful processors, and these latest versions included multiple performance improvements, which will greatly impact the overall performance of virtual machines in Google Cloud. Next, they introduced Bring Your Own IP. So in the past, for any server that you spooled up in Google Cloud, you would have to assign it a new IP address from Google's inventory. This isn't great if you're migrating an existing server and want to keep the same IP. But now you can bring your own IP address into Google Cloud, which makes the whole process much more seamless. They also released a handful of new features, such as the acquisition of Cloud Simple, which is a cloud migration software company, Cloud SQL or SQL Server, new enhancements for SAP infrastructure, support for bare metal Oracle workloads, and a Network Intelligence Center for network troubleshooting and testing in real time. Next, Google moved the keynote to focus on big data, which is one of the buzzwords of the year. Big data is so important at this point in time, and the reason behind it is due to artificial intelligence. We are fully aware that artificial intelligence is coming and it's going to have a huge impact on technology and our lives. But to make AI work, you need lots of data. So big companies right now are harvesting huge amounts of data about everything and anything that they possibly can, so that they can build AI systems in the future. 5 years ago, this wasn't the case. Companies would often delete or purge data that they didn't need, because it took a toll on resource and finances to keep the data in place. Now, with the likes of Google Cloud, it's so cheap and easy to store huge amounts of data that companies are just keeping it anyway, just in case they need it. Google knows this, and so it flexed its cloud data warehousing tool, Bigquery, by saying that some of its customers are storing hundreds of petabytes of data in the system. Google even went on to boast that one of their customers ran the biggest SQL query that they have ever seen, which accumulated to 100 trillion rows of data. Now, to put that into context, there are 7.8 billion people in this world, and there's 1,000 billion in 1 trillion. And this query resulted in 100 trillion rows of data. So there would have been 13,000 rows of data for every person on this planet in that query. Google then went on to discuss the processing of live streaming data. So this is data from services such as Netflix and Spotify. This type of data collection and storage is quite tricky, but it's important, as 30% of data generated will be real time by 2025, according to the IDC. For example, this type of data could be tracking something such as the number of times a song is listened to on Spotify. This is a difficult task to undertake because the data is constantly changing, sometimes at the rate of 1 million entries per second. Spotify is actually a customer of Google Cloud, and this is exactly what they use the platform for. They use Google Cloud's data flow tool to track the number of times artists' songs have been listened to, so that they can pay the royalties to the artist that they are owed. They also use the exact same system to create a yearly roundup for every Spotify user to tell them the songs that they listen to the most during that year. If you're a Spotify user, you should have received an email link by now, which would have given you access to this personalized dashboard to see what songs you listen to the most this year. Lastly, one of the biggest announcements from Google Cloud's data tools was Connected Sheets. This is where you can take data from Bigquery, which is a data warehousing tool capable of storing trillions of rows of data, and syncing it with a standard Google Sheet. So you can apply filters, graphs, share and analyze the data in a simple, familiar format. That, to be honest, is quite amazing. Try putting 1 million rows into Microsoft Excel and watch it crumble under the pressure. That's even if your PC allows you to do that. So moving on, We can't talk about tech and not mention artificial intelligence, or AI for short. It's obvious it's the future and it's already becoming established in our everyday lives. The ship has sailed with AI and there's no looking back. Unsurprisingly, Google is playing a large part in this. They proudly presented the Contact Center AI platform, which is now readily available for any company to use, and it's even been integrated into 74% of telephony providers worldwide. Contact Center AI is essentially like having Google's Assistant working for you in a call center. It can independently talk to customers, process and relay information with alarming accuracy, and it can also replicate human speech stumblings, like when we say and it can also vary the pitch of which things are said, so when we go low and high to validate our point or finish our sentences. Okay, so one of the biggest talking points at Google Cloud Next 19 was its TPUs. So let's start from the very top. A TPU is a tensor processing unit. Tensor is a type of mathematical algorithm required to run artificial intelligence-based queries. A TPU is essentially a processor, but it's been intentionally designed and purposefully built just to run tensor algorithmic code and nothing else. Google explained that the reason that they've done this is essentially because Moore's law has come to an end. Moore's law was a theory which stated that the advancement in processing power doubled every year as we were able to reduce the size of a transistor by half, and therefore double the number of transistors on a silicon wafer every 2 years. However, we're now reaching the physical limit of transistor size, and we cannot currently go any smaller. The only way to increase computing power is by multiplying the number of processors in a device, or by optimizing that device to carry out a very specific task very well. And that's exactly what Google has done with their TPUs. They've engineered a processing unit which is perfectly optimized to carry out AI functions and nothing else. So these are not the machines that you could run Windows 10 on, for example. They have one job and you pay by the minute or the hour to use them for that very specific job only. Google's latest TPU board, TPU3, can process 420 teraflops in a super small footprint, which is incredibly powerful considering the size of it. Google then connects a total of 64 of these TPUs together to create what they call a pod, which is essentially an incredibly powerful supercomputer that can process AI functions at incredible speeds. These TPU pods are available to use in Google's cloud platform now, and have been for some time. You can rent the usage of a pod in quarters, so you could request the processing power of a quarter of a pod, or 16 TPUs, and run your code on that hardware all from a laptop connected to the internet anywhere in the world. Okay, so those that know me know that I'm a pretty big fan of Google's G Suite, which is Google's cloud-based office applications for business and education. Now I'm going to make a fairly bold statement here, which most people probably won't agree with, but I'm going to go out on a limb and predict the future. So here it is. In 5 to 8 years' time, Microsoft Office won't exist. I truly believe that G Suite is dominating the market, and those who haven't moved over yet are being significantly held back. Microsoft is stuck in the past and it can't bring its users up to date with the capabilities of G Suite. Of course, and unsurprisingly, Google agrees with this, and they say that independent research claims that companies that use G Suite save 21 workdays per employee per year due to the efficiencies of G Suite. Also, those same companies have a reduced risk of a data breach by 95% because of the security enhancements G Suite brings. Google also announced a few updates to G Suite which continue to outperform Microsoft Office. One of them is that they're bringing Smart Compose to Docs. Now Smart Compose is already available in Gmail. It essentially auto-suggests the next part of your email based on artificial intelligence, so it helps you to write emails faster. Now that they're bringing Smart Compose to Docs, it essentially writes your documents for you. Based on learnings of what other people write, it'll suggest the next part of your sentence so that you don't have to type it. It's a really cool and really helpful feature. And this is all powered by Google's advanced neural networks, running on their TPUs and delivered to you in a fraction of a second to help you complete your work faster, all at no additional cost to the standard G Suite package. This is the power of fully cloud-based Office, and there's so much more to come. Google also released support for Google Assistant with G Suite, so business users can now have access to Google Assistant in order to write emails, book meetings, dial into calls, and so much more. It's basically like every employee who uses G Suite gets a free personal assistant, all within the G Suite package. Lastly, Google finished their keynote with a nice hint towards improving their technical support. Now, initially, when Google Cloud first started, I think the idea was that Google was going to give you the tools to create things, and you go and create them, and whatever you build is your responsibility to maintain and support if something goes wrong. And to be completely honest, that's still completely true. Google cannot be held responsible to support every application and dev environment that's built on Google Cloud, but I think they can offer more help when it comes to the basic configuration and basic setup of servers and networking and so on, to help people when they're just starting out with Google Cloud. So overall, it's really refreshing to hear that Google understands that their customers want more support and that they're making changes to help with this. Okay, so that's my summary of the main highlights that I found interesting at Google Cloud Next 19. There's so many more things that I would like to talk about, as I did attend multiple other talks and little workshops. However, I just cannot fit it all into this video. It was kind of an information overload because there's so much going on. But if you would like to learn more about everything that happened at Google Next 19, then I'll leave the links in the description below to all of the videos that were filmed on that day by Google. There's hundreds of them available. The last time I looked, there was about 600 videos of the talks and events that went on. So there's plenty of information within those videos if you want to learn more about a certain subject or a certain part of Google Cloud. There really was so much information packed into just 2 short days. It's incredible. So if you liked this video, please tap the like button and hit the subscribe button below. I really appreciate every like and subscription that I get. It means a lot to me because these videos take quite a while to make. Also, if you'd like to ask a question about Google Cloud or Google Cloud Next 19, then leave a comment below and I will reply. I read every single comment so I can get back to you, usually within 24 hours. I do try to upload once a week, although there has been a little bit of a gap recently as it's taken so long to produce this video, and also it's been a little bit crazy with Black Friday and the run up of Christmas. So I have had a little bit of a break, but I am planning on getting more videos up over the Christmas period so that people have things to watch. So I'd greatly appreciate it if you hit subscribe, and then you'll get regular updates on my new and upcoming videos. Also, I'm trying my hand at TikTok, so go and follow me there. My handle is Ditly UK, the same as all my other handles. So while you're at it, you may as well go follow Instagram, Facebook and Twitter as well, so you get all the updates on everything that I'm doing, things like the new studio, upcoming videos that I'm going to create, and general information on social media advertising, technology, and to be honest, anything that I find interesting. So thanks again for watching, and I'm looking forward to next time.